All right, welcome back to night 2 of Vacation Bible School. We're so glad that you guys are all here this evening, and we're looking forward to a fun night. And just like last night, we are going to open with our skit. And just like last night, I will be narrating the skit. So without further ado, we will begin. Tonight, our theme is David and Goliath.
Guys? Brought your guys' lunch? Oh no, what are you doing here?
Really? Dad sent you, or you just came out here to watch the battle?
I brought your lunch. And I thought you'd be happy to see me. Sure. Who's watching those little sheep of yours?
Choose a man for yourselves. Let him come down and meet me.
Oh no, there he is.
Go home, David!
What did I do? It's talking.
I am Goliath. Give me a man that we can fight together.
This is bad. This is very bad.
Have you even one man at camp who can fight?
If you guys aren't going to stand up for God's people, I will. David, you're so conceited. Don't hold him on. Lord, deliver me from the paw of the lion, from the paw of the bear. You will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine.
Are you crazy? He will kill you. Go home, David!
Who is this infant? Am I a dog that you come with me as sticks and stones?
Don't worry. God will take care of this.
Arr!
And freeze. We're stopping there, and you can learn the rest of the events during Bible class tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. Before we sing a couple of songs, we are going to also have a puppet skit here in just a moment, but just as a reminder, I will be hiding Mini Jesus somewhere in the building. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for Mini Jesus, who is always watching. So be looking, and if any of the groups find them, it is 10 points for your team. Remember, it's a very close battle so far. But before we sing a couple of VBS songs, we will be having a puppet skit.
Hi kids, I'm Flash. Oh, what was I thinking? My aching head.
Hey Flash, how you doing?
Oh, hey Chase.
Oh, that's quite a black eye you've got there. What happened?
Hi Jetta. It's a long story.
Well, we're not going anywhere, so go ahead and spill it.
Well, okay, since you insist. You know how in the Bible it says that love is patient and kind and...
Sure. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 13.
Are you talking about love? My favorite topic. Love is perfect.
Right, Felicity. That's in 1 John 4. There's no fear in love, and perfect love has victory over fear.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think my love isn't so perfect, if you catch my drift.
I don't catch your drift at all.
That's because you just showed up in the middle velocity. No, I don't think that is, because I'm confused too.
Oh, what are you trying to say, Flash?
Start from the beginning.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1.
No, start from the beginning when you got the black eye. With a plum like that, this should be a really good story.
Oh, well, okay. There I was reading the Bible about God so loved us. We also ought to love one another, 1 John 4:11. And there is no fear in love. So I figured I would try to show some love to a different one of my teammates every day.
Well, that sounds like a great idea, Flash.
How could that give you such a shiner?
So I went to track practice yesterday, and I said to myself, Flash, you need to show some love to the first teammate you see today. No fear. So I did.
You did?
Yup. The first person I saw was Lori Bruin-Chanchachio.
You mean Lori the Bruiser Bruin-Chichachio?
You got it. The tallest, strongest girl in the whole track team.
You mean the tallest, strongest kid in the whole school? Flash, some people would say Lori prefers to go by by another name. Lori the Bully Brunachachio.
Yup. When I saw her walking out of the bleachers, it took all my courage. But there is no fear in love, right?
That's true.
I says, here goes nothing, and I puckered up and I kissed her on the cheek. Mwah!
Kissed her? What for?
Isn't that what love is? Kissing and hugging and being mushy?
Well, not really. What happened after you kissed her?
Isn't it obvious, Sherlock? She decked me. She punched me out. She dotted my eyes. She cleaned my clock.
She hit you?
Yeah, buddy.
I might have hit you too, Flash.
Well, that's the last time I try to show love to someone.
Flash?
What?
Flash, flash, flash.
What?
Flash, flash, flash.
What?
Sorry, it's just that I think
We think
you might have misunderstood what the Bible is saying about love. A little. A lot, actually.
love is important, but sometimes people get confused about what love really is.
On TV, it seems like love is always some man and woman kissing, but love is the way God means it is really different.
Oh, yeah? How's it different?
Well, the Bible says.
Oh yeah? How's it different?
Well, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is patient, kind, not proud or rude, that it always forgives and never gives up. It says that love never brags or puts others down. And the greatest love is when someone puts their life on the line for their friend. It takes courage.
Whoa. I didn't hear anything about kissing or hugging Lori the Bruiser in any of that stuff you said. I think I did put my life on the line, though.
Nope, not like that, Flash. Love is a lot of things, and God has lots to say about it in his book, the Bible.
But a most important verse about love is John 3:16. You know that one, right, Flash?
Yeah, but maybe you guys could remind me.
It goes, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life.
God so loved that he gave his Son.
His son gave his life for me? I get it. Love isn't about being mushy. It's about doing things for others and expecting nothing in return.
You do got it.
Cool, well, I gotta go.
What already? Jenna, what already? Say what already? What? Already? Where are you going to?
To to apologize to Lori and see if she needs any help in her math homework. She's good at throwing a putt-putt, but she has a hard time with math. Like, I totally rock at math.
Wow, Flash, that is showing love after she decked you.
Love never gives up, right?
1 Corinthians 13.
Be careful. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Jesus who loved us. Romans 8:37.
Go down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, pop up. The end. I hope he doesn't find 1 Corinthians 16:19 anytime soon.
Why is that?
It says, greet one another with a holy kiss.
Here, actually.
Three songs. So let's go ahead and stand up. And are there any requests? Hippo, 2 nights in a row? All right, well, we'll speed it up here in a minute too. So let's go ahead and start with the Hippo song. Ready? In the beginning God made the seas, and the forest filled with trees, and the mountains up so high. At the top he placed the sky. Fingerprints are everywhere, just to show how much he cared. In the middle he had some fun. Made a hippo that weighs a ton. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. Think we can go faster?
Yeah.
How fast? Really fast? All right, here we go. In the beginning God made the seas, and the forest filled with trees, and the mountains up so high. At the top he placed the sky. Fingerprints are everywhere, just to show how much he cared. In the middle he had some fun. Made a hippo that weighs a ton. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. I think we can go one bit faster. Speeder. Pepper's not so sure. All right, we're going to test Pepper. All right, we're going to go just a little bit faster. But this is our last time, so let's make it good. Ready? In the beginning God made the seas, and the forest filled with trees, and the mountains up so high. At the top he placed the sky. Fingerprints are everywhere, just to show how much he cared. In the middle he had some fun. Made a hippo that weighs a ton. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. Hip, 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 hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, God made all of us. Good job, guys. Now, is Kimball Mortland in the house? I need, we're going to do the Lord's Army, and I can't do it without Kimball. Kimball? I know we did this last night as well, but Kimball wasn't here, and it's kind of his thing. Ready, Kimball? I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! All right, thanks, Kimball. All right, we got time for one more. Any requests? We may save that one. Let's do a new one tonight. Which one have we not done? We haven't done Booster yet. How have we not done Booster yet? All right, everybody get their boosters out. Ready? Booster, booster, be a booster. Don't be grouchy like a rooster. Booster, booster, be a booster. And boost our Bible school. Booster! All right, just a reminder to where everyone's going first. Our toddlers are going to be going to class along with our cradle. Our middle and high school group is going to crafts. Our middle grades, Miss Kay's class and Miss Becky's class is going to snacks. And Miss Amy's class and Miss Melinda and Miss Mary Jo's class, you guys are all going to be going to games, but first we're going to take a class picture. So let's all sing One Little, Two Little, Three Little Christians, and we will dismiss youngest to oldest. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Christian, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little Christian, 7 little, 8 little, 9 little Christians, 10 little Christian boys and girls, 10 little, 9 little, 8 little Christians, 7 little, 6 little, 5 little Christian, 4 little, 3 little, 2 little Christian, 1 little Christian boy and girl. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Christians, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little Christian, 7 little, 8 little, 9 little Christian, 10 little Christian boys and girls, 10 little, 9 little, 8 little Christians, 7 little, 6 little, 5 little Christians, 4 little, 3 little, 2 little Christians, 1 little Christian boy or girl. All right, and adults, y'all's class is again going to be in the auditorium.
We got sound. So for those of you who are paying attention to the skit and everything, what is our lesson on tonight? David and Goliath. All right. First question, it's going to be very easy. Who here has never heard the story of David and Goliath? Raise your hand. Well, since everybody knows it, I guess class is dismissed. If only we could be so lucky. So, since, teaching this class for an adult class is probably not one of the most easiest things to do, since it's a story that we're all very familiar with. Even those who don't go to church regularly have heard about the story of David and Goliath. And if they haven't heard the story from the biblical sense, they have seen the story presented in other means. How many of you are familiar with the Rocky story movies? Rocky Balboa and all. Story of David and Goliath. You've got Rocky, this underdog, this, coming out of nowhere and everything, versus the champion. It's not expected to be much of a battle. It's not expected to be much of a fight. Who are we all rooting for? We're rooting for that underdog. Well, the story here of David and Goliath is one of the first recorded underdog stories that we have in history. We have David versus a giant. And so, getting into that, we'll be looking in 1 Samuel chapter 17. But before we get there, we're actually going to go back to chapter 16, because it's in chapter 16 where we're first introduced to David. We're first introduced to David when God tells Samuel to quit fretting about Saul because God had rejected Saul as king. And he sends Samuel to go out and anoint the one he has chosen to be the new king. Samuel is a little reluctant to go, saying if Saul hears about this, he's going to kill me. God says, don't worry about it, just do what I say, everything will be fine. So Samuel goes to Bethlehem, meets Jesse, says, I've come to offer sacrifices, consecrate yourselves, and we'll all join together in the sacrifice and the feast to follow. And so Jesse and his family do so, and as they're there at the feast, Samuel sees the eldest brother and says, well, there's a fine, strapping young man. Surely this is the one God's chosen. And God says, nope, that's not the one. You see the outside, I see the heart. And 6 more of Jesse's sons come walking past Samuel, and for each one of them, God says, nope, that's not the one. And finally, it's like, okay, Jesse, you have any other sons? Yes, I got the youngest, he's out tending the sheep. And Samuel says, well, call him in. You can't start eating until he comes. So they call David in. David comes in, Samuel sees him, and God says, this is the one. Anoint him. And so Samuel takes out his horn of oil, and he anoints David to be king over Israel there in the midst of his family, there in Bethlehem. Following this, Samuel goes home. Saul is none the wiser. Apparently none of David's family talk about the visit and what Samuel did. The next thing we see is we get a picture of Saul. Saul is in a bad way. The Spirit of the Lord has left him, and a spirit of torment has come upon him, and Saul's just, he's being tormented, he doesn't like it, and he's making him, he's miserable, and he's making those around him miserable. And one of the people there says, I have an idea. Let's find somebody who is skillful with playing the lyre, and he can come, and when you're being tormented, he can come, he can play the lyre, and the music will help refresh and lift your spirits, and things will be better. And one of the young men, Saul says, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. And then one of the young men says, I know somebody. there's the son of Jesse. And he plays the lyre. And he basically, in verse 18 of chapter 16, he describes David as being skillful in playing, a man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and a man of good presence, and the Lord is with him. Sounds good to Saul, so he sends a message off to Jesse, say, send me your son. David comes before Saul. Saul takes a liking to him, adds him to his service, makes him his armor bearer, and whenever the spirit of torment comes upon Saul, David plays, Saul is refreshed. So the idea works. David plays the music and Saul gets refreshed and is less tormented than he was before. And so this is what we see here in chapter 16 before we get to chapter 17 and the events surrounding David and Goliath. So we see that even before here, David has been introduced to court life. He's been introduced to Saul, and we've been introduced to the fact that Saul's on the decline at this point in time. He's already starting to feel the effects of the Spirit of the Lord having left him. And so we come to chapter 17, and your favorite attackers and mine, the Philistines, are at it again. Here come the Philistines again, and this time they have a champion, Goliath of Gath, one of the rare giants. It says that he is 6 cubits and a span tall. Now, if anyone would like to take a guess on how tall that is, I'll give you a little hint. Cubits, generally that space from the elbow to the tip of the finger. Now, my particular cubit's about 22 inches. I don't think that's probably the cubit that we're referring to here. But generally a cubit's considered to be around 18 inches. So based upon that, a cubit and a span, Goliath was about 9 foot tall, and the span would be, if I remember right, is the distance of the width of your hand. So about another 3 or 4 inches there. So he was about 9'3", 9'4", somewhere in that general vicinity. He's a giant. He's tall. He's big. He's not someone you want to mess with. Anybody here ever have to go against a giant? Now, I have not had to go against a giant that tall, but when I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing on the JV basketball team. My official height was about 6'2", which is a pretty good height for a JV basketball team. Just like Saul, I was considered to be about head and shoulders over the rest of my class by that time. Our assistant coach, who was in charge of the JV basketball team, was 6'11" and weighed about 325. When it came to playing scrimmage games and practices, guess who ended up having to guard me? Mind you, like I said, I was 6'2", but I weighed all of 121 pounds. The guy had 200 pounds on me. And as we're playing, the ball would go up and it would bounce off the rim, and he's telling me, "Come on, Tim, block him out, block him out." It's like, what do you mean, block him out? He outweighs me by 200 pounds. How am I supposed to block him out? And he only had, 200 pounds and, about 9 inches on him. Imagine someone who is got 3 foot on you and probably outweighs you by, well over that 200 pounds, probably even more than that. This is what is standing before the army of Israel, issuing his challenge. In addition to just his sheer size, it also talks about his armor, which probably weighed close to 125 pounds. He had a spear shaft that weighed about 17 pounds. His total armor weight was near 200 pounds. So just his, armor and all, he's carrying 200 pounds of weight right there, not to mention his own weight. This guy's a tank with legs. And here he comes out, and he challenges the army of Israel to send forth their champion, and the two of them would battle it out, and whoever would win, the other side would be their servants. And that way, we eliminate this wear and tear of just a general battle where, lots of people get hurt and killed. We just let the champions decide it. Of course, that's a real easy deal for you to make when you've got a tank on your side representing you. We have the children of Israel here who are listening to this giant issuing this challenge. And the children of Israel's response to this challenge is they were dismayed and greatly afraid, as verse 11 of chapter 17. Dismayed and greatly afraid. All of Israel and Saul, their king, the one who's supposed to lead them into battle. That's why they wanted a king in the first place, right? We want one to go forth and lead us into battle. And he's back here with the army with his knees knocking, trembling in fear, filled with dismay. Goliath's call for battle is not answered. It's not only not answered, it says he comes out for 40 days issuing this challenge. So for a month and a half, Philistines are lined up over here, the Israelites are lined up over here. Goliath comes out, issues his challenge, and the Israelites are over here going, not me.
It's on the door, bro.
There was absolutely no faith in the Israelite army that God could grant them the victory. No faith whatsoever. In verses 12 through 23 of chapter 17, we learned some things about David. We learned that whereas it was said that David was in service to Saul, that he would play the lyre for him and all, and it also said that he would spend time as Saul's armor bearer. Apparently that was not a full-time job for him, and that there were times when he was allowed to go home. And so David is, at this time of this war, David's at home, spending time caring for the flocks. David's three oldest brothers, are following after Saul as part of the army. David's dad, after 40 days are gone, but he wants to know what's going on. So he tells David, come, take some provisions for your brothers and for their commander. Take some provisions and go find out, how are they doing? David's dad wants to know. So David gathers up the provisions. He goes. He drops the provisions off with the supply people, and then he goes to the lines to find his brothers.
Is there going to be a tracker?
There can be, but there wasn't one planned for right.
And while he's there, getting to his brothers, find out how they're doing, here comes Goliath out for the daily challenge.
You had a hard time standing like 2 minutes ago.
And David hears him. There's Goliath yelling, and David hears him and what he's saying. And David's response is, well, isn't anybody going to fight him? And some of the people around him say, hey, the king has offered a great reward for those who will go out and defeat this giant. He said that he'll give, lots of rewards, that he'll give his daughter in marriage, and he will make the champion's family totally exempt from taxes in Israel. Now, isn't that something? Don't hear the president making that kind of offer, do you? But, so, this great reward is available to the one who can defeat the giant. And David's impressed, and he goes, that's not all. And David goes and he says, is this what the reward is for the, David wants confirmation. It's like, is this just rumor hearsay, or is this truly what the king is offering? And sure enough, he gets it verified. Yes, that's exactly what the king is offering. And he's thinking, that's an impressive reward that's being offered there. And of course, David's brother hears him. And in spite of the skit, David's brother does not say, go back home to mom. But he does get upset at David. He basically, telling David, it's like, I know about your pride and arrogance, depending on which translation you're reading. Some say arrogance, some say pride, some say, other things concerning his attitude. And, who's taking care of the sheep? What did you do? Run off to find out what's going on with the battle and left the sheep alone? Basically, he's giving David a bit of a hard time here. We're not sure why he's giving David a hard time. But maybe it's partly guilt. And here David is asking, why isn't anybody fighting this giant? And he's got 3 brothers here in the army who for 40 days haven't been volunteering. Maybe there was a little bit of guilt here. It's like, right, you're going to stand up against the giant, making us look bad. David doesn't let his older brother's attitude deter him, and he keeps talking and asking around. And of course, as things happen, word gets back to Saul. Hey, there's somebody here who says that he's not afraid of Goliath. He's willing to fight him. And so Saul, his ears pick up, and he said, really? Somebody's willing to fight Goliath? This is great news. Because we've been here sitting around for 40 days, and we need to get this thing resolved here. Well, he sends for David. And when he sees David, David accepts Goliath's challenge before Saul. He said, sure, I'll go fight this uncircumcised Philistine who dares defy the armies of God. And Saul looks at him, and he's a little bit skeptical about this. It's like, hey, you're young, and this guy he's an experienced warrior. He's probably been an experienced warrior for as long as you've been alive. And he's got you, he's definitely bigger than you. He's older than you. He's definitely more experienced in warfare than you are. What makes you think that you can take this giant on? What was Saul's problem? What was all the Israelites' problems, for that matter? For 40 days, what has their problem been? Not trusting the Lord. When Gideon faced off against the Midianites, and the Midianites had that huge 100,000-man army, how many men did Gideon have? 300? That's quite some odds. But see, Gideon's and his men weren't the ones who had to win the battle. God won the battle for them. Gideon and his men just had to do what God told them. When it came to this giant of a Philistine, none of the army of Israel was thinking in terms of God can give us victory. They were thinking in terms of, man, he's so big and I'm so small. And I do not want to be crushed like a little ant under his feet. David didn't look at it that way. Whereas everybody else is seeing this and looking at it in terms of big giant, little Israelite, Philistine army versus Israelite army, David looks at it as uncircumcised, ungodly Philistines and their champion versus God's army. And God's army should not be being defied by the likes of them. When we look in the passage here, it seems that everybody is referring to the Israelite army as either the army of Israel or the army of Saul. When David spoke of it, though, this is God's army. This is God's army that this Philistine is shouting his curses upon. And he needs to be shut up. And if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it because God is with me. He's not going to let this Philistine win. Saul's not totally, he goes, but how do you expect to beat this guy? And David says, I'm a shepherd. I take care of my father's sheep. And when the lion and the bear would come among the sheep to carry one off, I went and I'd kill that lion or that bear, and I would rescue that sheep back from them and bring them back to the flock. And the Lord that has kept me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear could save me from this uncircumcised Philistine. David had confidence that God was with him, that God has been protecting him thus far, and that God would continue to protect him even when facing a giant. And so Saul decides to give his blessing to David. He gives his blessing. Okay, you can go fight Goliath, but here, let me give you my armor and my sword so that you can go fight him properly equipped. So David tries on the armor and the sword, and it doesn't fit. Now some says he tries it, and he just can't move around well in it. So the bottom he goes, I can't do this because I haven't tested it. It's not what he's used to. This is not how David is used to fighting in armor with a sword. And so to go out against Goliath and what he's not used to, that's not going to happen. So David takes off the armor of Saul and the sword, and instead He takes a staff. He gathers up 5 stones from the brook, has a sling with him, and he goes out to fight Goliath. Now, when it comes to a sling, most of the time, the first thing we think about when we think about slings are slingshots, with the little wide branch and the rubber bands thing, and you pull it and shoot it. And we're going, yeah, you could do a little bit of hurt, but that's not gonna kill a giant. In ancient times, slings were articles of war. There would be groups in battle, going to battle, and you would have a group of slingers over here who would be part of the battle group. We know that in Judges chapter 20, verse 16, it tells us that there were 700 chosen men who were left-handed. Everyone could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. And just to give you a little more idea about the mechanics behind the sling, they would put the stone in the sling, swing it around a number of times, get it up to speed, release one of the strings, and fire the stone. That stone could be going in excess of 150 miles an hour. And these slingers could make those stones travel a good 600 feet. So we're not talking, we're talking, this is an article of war. They actually had groups who would go out to war, and what they were warring with were slings. This was, ancient Israelite artillery. And so this sling is definitely something that could be taken into battle and is considered dangerous. This is what David is taking against Goliath. I think, if I remember from last time, this is about the time when we broke. 23 after, so we can go ahead. I know, I'm leaving you on the hump. We've got right up to the cusp of battle. David's getting ready to go out and face Goliath. But you just have to remember to come back after break, and we can pick it up from there. So, let you go to break and at 25 till. Let's gather back in, and we'll hear the rest of the story.
That's very inspirational. Okay,
I was just making sure that the mic's on. And I had a feeling that people were going to be a little slow trickling back. Maybe they don't want to know what the rest of the story is. Now, I had one person tell me they already knew how the story ended, so they didn't need to come back. I told them maybe so, but they've never heard me tell how the story ends. Yeah, I've only got half a page of notes left, so I say that, but however, the last part of the last page is all questions. Take a thing out of Ty's book here, and we'll ask the questions and give you all a chance to provide the answers. Okay. We just finished talking about how slings were definitely weapons of war, so it was not unusual for a sling to be used in a battle. So David's going out with his sling and his staff. Goliath is there in all his splendid glory and armor and spear, and David approaches Goliath. Goliath sees David, and Goliath is not impressed. He sees David. He sees that David is young. He sees that David is definitely not any veteran of warfare. And he's a bit insulted, and he replies that he says, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. That's in verse 43 of chapter 17. So, David did not impress Goliath at all. Totally understandable, because the army of Israel had not been impressed by David really at all, other than the fact that at least David's brave enough to go out to fight him. That impressed him. Now, whether it impressed him as, boy, is this kid an idiot, or impressed him of, he's a brave idiot, but they're definitely, Goliath is not impressed by them sending David out to him. He curses by his gods, and he proclaims the fate of David's corpse. So, "I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field." Battle hasn't truly started yet, and Goliath's already said, "You're dead meat, and you're going to be left here for the wild creatures to eat." Goliath's expecting a real quick victory here. David replies to Goliath's taunts and all. Says, "You come with sword, spear, javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." David has two messages here for Goliath. One, the very thing that you're proclaiming for me is going to happen to you and the Philistines. And two, it's because you have defied God, and God is going to see to it that you pay. David fully has his trust in God. Now, this isn't to say that David is not an expert slinger. As he says, he's already, used a sling, take care of lions, take care of bears. So David knows how to use a sling. That's why he's doing it and not wearing Saul's armor and using Saul's sword. He's not used to that. Sling, David knows how to use that. And so, having exchanged their words, David proclaiming that his victory will be the Lord's doing, they engage. David takes a stone, slings it, hits Goliath in the forehead, driving it in, so it's hitting with a lot of force. Hits him in the forehead, basically knocking him out. David then approaches Goliath, pulls out Goliath's sword, and uses Goliath's sword to behead him. The bookies are going wild. Who would have thought that this long shot was going to happen? Basically, the army of the Philistines is stunned. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. Here's our champion, over 9 foot tall. Basically a tank. Here comes this young person. He takes out our tank. They decided they didn't want to fight the rest of the army. And so the Philistines fled, which brings to mind, it's like, okay, was it the Philistines who were saying, if your champion wins, we'll be your servants, and if our champion wins, you'll all be our servants? Now, if Goliath had won that battle, what do you think the Philistine stances would have been on that little bargain? Would they be saying, well, we didn't really mean it, you can all go home and be fine? Or would they have said, okay, you lost, you're our servants and slaves now? The Philistines were going to say, no, you're our servants and slaves now. That was the deal. Our champion won, you're our servants and slaves. Israel's champion wins unexpectedly. The Philistines don't go, okay, you won, we'll be your servants. The Philistines go, eek, run for your life. And so they run off. And the army of Israel gives a loud shout, and they chase after them. And it says they chase them all the way back to Gath and Ekron. Now, if you're wondering about that, Gath and Ekron are two of the major cities of the Philistines. And so basically, the army of Israel is chasing the army of the Philistines all the way back home. And after they've chased them home, they come back and they loot the Philistine camp. And they did quite a bit of damage to the Philistine army in addition to that. It says that the wounded of the Philistines fell along the road. And in verse 54 says, "And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent." And so David has won the battle. The Philistines have noticed their champion quickly dispatched. The Philistines run away. Their camp is looted. They lose a bunch of people. The trophy of the head and equipment's taken by David. One, the head in Jerusalem, and the other goes to the tabernacle. Brings us to verse 55. Verse 55, we see that Saul's asking Abner and says, "Whose son is this youth?" And Abner says, "As your soul lives, O king, I do not know." Now, we're going, okay, Saul, didn't David serve in your house for a while? Didn't David even serve as your armor bearer for a while? How can you not know who this is? And this is one of those things of where reading it is a little bit different than living it, in that they don't always tell us when time passes when you're reading, or how much time has passed. We don't know how much time passed between the end of chapter 16 and the beginning of chapter 17. It may have been a number of years that passed during that time. We don't know. It may have been not much time at all, but for whatever reason, Saul is not remembering David. And Abner's not remembering David, if Abner knew of who David was. And so the king says, "Find out who the young man is." And when David returns from slaughtering the Philistine, Abner gets him, brings him before Saul, and Saul says to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David answers, "I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite." And so here we have David being reintroduced to King Saul. The Israelites have triumphed over the Philistines. David has slain Goliath. And that brings us to the end of what they have given us to study as far as chapter is concerned. But of course, what good is just telling a story if we don't learn anything from it? So let's see what we can learn from it. Of course, one of the things that come up very frequently when it comes to this passage is, how old was David when this takes place? Now, oftentimes when we see pictures, we see David looking like he might be, as young as 12, 13, 14. We sing a song about, only a boy named David, only a little sling, and those all kind of give across the idea that he was really young. Having read through all the different scholars, or I won't say all, but a large number, the general consensus is that David was probably anywhere from about 15 to 25, or 26 years old. Some of the reasons that they give for those particular ages, range from the fact that it was his older brothers in the army, but not him. So some of them say, well, obviously, David wasn't in the army because he wasn't old enough to be in the army. But his older brothers were there. But that's kind of a large assumption, saying that if you were eligible to be in the army, you would be in the army, which is a bit of a jump and an assumption. This wasn't a case of where Saul would call out and everybody who could possibly fight would come and join him. This was a case of where he'd call out and he would gather an army that could readily be available, in addition to his core group of soldiers that he kept on regular retainer. And so some of them try to calculate from, okay, if the older brothers were in the army, then everybody else would have been younger than that, and based on how long it takes for, birthing and all to take place, we downtrack and have David being, 15, 16 years old at the oldest, based on that kind of calculation. Mine's a little bit simpler. Personally, from my study, I'm more inclined to think that David was somewhere between 20 and 23. Reason for this is what follows in chapter 18, which is Saul takes David into his service and he sends David out on missions. Basically, David becomes part of Saul's inner group of soldiers, and David gets sent out by Saul on missions. So if David is being a soldier, then should be at least 20 years old, based on Leviticus, I think it's Leviticus, where God gives the age for military service to be 20 and over. And if Israel is still following that plan, then David would need to have been 20 or older for Saul to have been taking him into his military service and sending him on missions. And so basically that's my main reason for thinking that he was probably in his low 20s when this all took place. My, how time flies when you're having fun. Things that we can learn from this lesson. One of the things that we can learn, of course, is that God can work through us regardless of our age. It doesn't matter if you're 104 or 14. God can use you to get his work done. We just need to let him. On our Sunday morning classes, in the adult class, we're starting a series of lessons about being a soldier of Christ, being in the Lord's army. And how that, as we'll be talking about it, we'll be talking about various parts of what it means to be a soldier of Christ. David was being used as a soldier for God here to take out this giant. Another thing is that God prepares us for the work that he wants us to do. David did not face Goliath with a sling he had never used before. David did not face Goliath with a sling that he was doing good to hit the broadside of a barn with. David was using a sling that he's used before successfully in battling those who would steal his father's sheep. David had practiced and prepared. Now, did David know that, hey, there's a giant coming up in your future? You need to be good with that sling so you can take him down. No. But he had been prepared so that when the time came for that giant to be taken down, he had that sling and the ability to use it already down. God had seen to it that he had been properly prepared for that battle that came up to him. God prepares us for the battles that come to us. One of the passages says, count it all joy when we face trials and tribulations. And a lot of us say, I could do with a little less joy. But we're supposed to count joy because of the result of those trials and tribulations. Is that as the result of overcoming those trials and tribulations that come our way, we get stronger. Our faith gets stronger. We are more confident in God's ability to deliver us. We're more confident in God's strength to enable us to get through whatever it is life throws at us. And it's because of those little trials and tribulations that come along that when something big happens, we've got the strength. We've got the confidence in God's ability. We have the tools necessary to get the job done. We need to remember whose army we're in. As I mentioned before, when it came to, when we read through the passage, everybody refers to it as the Israelite army or the army of Saul, except for David. David referred to it as God's army, the Lord's army. We need to remember which army we're in. We are in the Lord's army. This isn't the army of Tim. It's not the Collinsville-Troy army. It's the Lord's army. And we need to remember whose army we're in and who our commander-in-chief is. Who is it that's given the orders? And we need to have the confidence in him to follow those orders through to the victory that he promises. Which is the last point, is we need to remember who it is that gives us the victory. Now, Jim in high school used to wrestle. I don't remember how good you were, but I do remember that you used to wrestle, or at least fairly decent at it. I once wrestled Jim. It did not turn out well. But there was a difference. I didn't know how to wrestle. I'd never had any instruction in that. The fact that Jim also outweighed me by 50 pounds had probably absolutely nothing to do with it. But between the two, I lost bad. In Ephesians 6, it talks about us that we wrestle against the principalities and powers and the heavenly beings. The instructions that Jim got in high school are not going to help him a whole lot with that wrestle match. But the instructions that God gives us will. The example that Christ gives us will. When Christ was faced with temptation in the wilderness, he gave us a good idea about how to handle the troubles that Satan sends our way. Satan said, hey, you're hungry? Turn these rocks into bread. Eat up. Christ's response was, it was written. Or it is written. Not what, it is written. Takes them onto the temple, says, throw them down. Because God won't let you, be harmed. And again, Christ responds with, it is written. And when the devil takes him on the mountaintop, says, I'm going to give you everything you see from here. If you just bow down and worship me. Christ's response is, it is written. What worked for Christ works for us. When Satan comes and tempts us, we need to respond to him with, it is written. And we need to use that to stay on that path that he has placed before us to travel. The clock back there says it's 5 after 8. Is that about the time we're supposed to stop? So, any comments or questions before we wrap up? Okay, Jim says that there's a similarity here between David's attitude versus the army of Israel and the attitude that Joshua and Caleb had versus their other 10 spies when they had gone out and spied out the land of Canaan. The other 10 spies were saying, they're giants. We're like little bitty grasshoppers in their sight. Joshua and Caleb says, hey, this land is good, delicious, and it's ripe for the taking because God will give it to us. They were confident in God giving it to them. The other 10 were confident that we're grasshoppers in their sight. We ain't got a chance. Just as the army of Israel is looking at Goliath and saying, yeah, not today. And David looked at him and says, who is this uncircumcised Philistine defying the army of God? God can take him down. I'm sure there's probably some reference there that when he says the living God, he's referring to our God is alive, our God is active, our God can do whatever he wants to set out to do. Your God, a bunch of wood, metal, stone, dead, worthless. You don't have a chance. David's first giant was not Goliath. He had other things that led up to that and gave him the confidence necessary to face Goliath. Likewise for us, we have things that come in our life. And as we overcome them, they help give us confidence so that we can face whatever next comes along for us to face.
After we have one of these struggles or battles,
Oftentimes, when we pray for the sick, someone who's got cancer or heart problems and they're having surgery and it's really critical and their lives are on the line and we're praying hard for them, this is great. We're supposed to pray for them. How often do we remember to thank God when the surgery was successful? When the treatment has been successful and they're now in full remission? It's good to pray for the sick that they may get well, but let's not forget, we also need to remember to thank God when He gives us a victory. When we have that victory, again, we need to be not like Saul, who came out from the battle with the Amalekites and built him up a monument. We need to be coming out and saying, thank you, Lord, for granting us this victory. Recognizing where the victory comes from. Not taking credit for any victories for ourselves. I believe that was the second bell, so thank you for your attention, and we'll have more fun tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm definitely. All right, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap up. I have a few updates for everyone for the points. So, remember, it was very close last night, and it's even closer tonight. So, the snack award today goes to both Miss Amy's class and Miss Mary Jo and Melinda's class. Very good. They also found Jesus tonight, so they also get points for that. So they have a grand total of 64 points. So very good. Let's clap for them. Now remember, our littles took 2 of 3 of our specials last night. They have a total of 48 points. So let's clap for our littles. Now, let's do middle and high school next. Middle and high school, you guys tied for the attendance award last night and have found Jesus both nights. And you also got the co-award for games tonight, and you have a total of 68 points. Very close. And I guess we'll finish with our middle grades, our junior high. You guys have also found Jesus both nights and tied for the attendance award last night. And you guys won the craft and the snack award tonight. So our middle grades have a total as of now of 70 points. And I need to give out one last award tonight, and that is the attendance award. There is no tie tonight. So for 10 additional points, our attendance award goes to the adults. No, I'm just kidding. They technically did win, but they aged out of the award. So our award goes to the middle and high school. So that means that all of our groups, our top 3 are within all about 10 or 12 points. So it will come down to tomorrow. And with that being said, remember, that means tomorrow is going to be really important to be on our best behavior for crafts, for games, for activities, and for finding Jesus. All of these different things are going to come into play tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Preston and Parker up. They're going to lead us in a new edition of a song. So go ahead and let's stand up. We're going to do 1 or 2 more songs.
Starting off normal, so I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly over the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I may never march in the riding a horse. A little lasso, yeah? Shoot the artilleries. Alright. Clucking. Alright. I'm a neighbor, march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly over the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yeehaw! I'm in the Lord's army. Yeehaw! I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly over the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yeehaw! Good job.
All right. Thank you, Preston Parker. One other announcement that was given to me is that there has been a flash drive that was found. So if you are missing a flash drive or a thumb drive, then you can let me know so that we can get that back to you. So check your pockets and your belongings. Make sure you have all of your things. But if you're missing a flash drive, then let me know. And before we close in prayer, let's go ahead and kind of quiet and still our bodies. Reggie's going to lead us in a closing prayer in just a moment, but let's make sure we're being nice and calm and quiet, please.